Hello, happy Monday, and welcome back to business, and welcome to your NEWSMAX Daily for December the 2nd, 2024, the first of 5 Mondays in the final month of the year. And just like that, we are now only 23 days away from Christmas, so you better get going. I hope you had a wonderful and peaceful holiday weekend. In case you didn't get enough shopping done over the Thanksgiving holiday, Black Friday weekend, today is Cyber Monday. And once again, Americans are expected to break spending records. Cyber Monday, by the way, is a thing in many other countries as well. If you are partaking, yes, there are some really, really good deals out there, and then some not so much, okay? So make sure you do your research. Be very careful. If you were really on holiday this weekend and just completely tuned out, then you have a lot of catching up to do. I have a lot of ground to cover here, but let's start with last night's breaking news of President Biden, who is now in Angola, pardoning his son Hunter Biden after previously promising not to pardon Hunter.
I've been very clear. The president's not going to pardon his son.
One more. Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Second one, would the president pardon or commute his son?
I was very clear, and I said no. I've been very clear. The president's been very clear when we've been asked this question. And he said he would not pardon his son. It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
That, of course, is White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre swearing every which way that there would be no pardon. President Biden announced that he was wiping out his son's convictions on federal gun and tax charges. Ironically, two of the pillars of the Biden administration, right? Gun control and taxes. Pay your fair share. This comes after Hunter Biden spent Thanksgiving on Nantucket with his father and days before he was due to be sentenced on federal charges, which likely would have meant some jail time. Let's go right to this morning's Wake Up America with Charlotte McBride and former White House Special Assistant Mark Lotter.
This tweet also not aging well. So on May 31st, Joe Biden putting out there on X, no one is above the law. That was, of course, the day after Trump was found guilty on 34 felony counts. He said nobody is above the law. But I guess what he meant to say is nobody is above the law, Mark, unless your last name is Biden.
Absolutely. I mean, look, they've been running cover for Hunter Biden for forever, whether it was hiding the contents of the laptop, deplatforming and censoring any kind of conversation about the laptop, the 51 intelligence officers who lied about the laptop, and now continuing all the way through this. This is nothing but a pattern of Joe Biden protecting Hunter. His presidency started with it. It's ending with it. It's all about protecting Hunter Biden, and that will be his lasting legacy, is that he was basically doing everything he could to protect his son and his family's allegedly corrupt influence that dates back decades.
Yeah.
Mark Lotter on Wake Up America. That is one of the stories that is definitely going to dominate all of the shows today. The other big story is President-elect Donald Trump's selection of Kash Patel to serve as FBI director, which was widely rumored last week. We go back to Wake Up America.
Obviously, Donald Trump busy over the weekend as well, continuing to round out his administration. And he announces that Kash Patel would be his choice to become the next FBI director, kicking out Christopher Wray, essentially. The media, as you can imagine, having a meltdown over this pick. Take a look.
To me, Kash Patel, and I don't say this lightly, is the most dangerous nominee that we've seen yet to our democracy.
Kash Patel as FBI director would be like if you crossed Alex Jones with J. Edgar Hoover in terms of just how much he would want to ignore precedent and the constraints that have been put onto the FBI over the years.
The only reason why Trump would have done this pick is for his retribution campaign. There is almost no other reason to explain this.
No other reason. Ike, what do you make of that?
Well, I think when you have the kind of deep state people that are complaining, then that's probably a good sign. This guy has more prosecutorial experience than Christopher Wray. He was the deputy director of national intelligence, so he knows what he's doing there. This guy has a better resume than about half of the previous directors, so I don't see what the problem is, but their complaints are really dating back to the creation of this weaponization. If you don't want Kash Patel, you shouldn't have weaponized the DOJ with the Russia collusion hoax, or labeling concerned parents as terrorists, or raiding Mar-a-Lago with lethal force authorization. If you didn't want Kash Patel, you shouldn't have done those things. So it's not about retribution at all. It's about justice. It's about accountability. And when you have Andrew McCabe, a guy who lied under oath in a federal investigation, saying that Kash Patel is a bad pick, you know you've actually got a good one.
That's Ike Wingate, host of the Ike Wingate Show on Wake Up America with Charlotte McBride. Unless he pronounces it like that college in South Carolina, Wingate. Shout out to the folks there at Wingate, which, by the way, has a fantastic lacrosse program. As he mentioned, Patel was chief of staff at the Defense Department, deputy director of national intelligence, among other things, in the first Trump administration, and played a key role in uncovering the Russia collusion hoax, and has called for dramatically reducing the FBI. Patel would replace embattled FBI Director Christopher Wray, who was also appointed by Trump back in 2017. Trump, meanwhile, posting on Truth Social, Kash is a brilliant lawyer, investigator, and America First fighter who has spent his career exposing corruption, defending justice, and protecting the American people. End quote. From Donald Trump on Truth Social. Republican Senator Mike Rounds of South Dakota was asked about Patel and some of Trump's other cabinet nominees, like Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense, on yesterday's ABC This Week.
We'll get an opportunity, and the American people will have an opportunity to see both the questions that are raised and the answers that these nominees respond with. And then we'll move forward.
South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds. And this is Marine Gunnery Sergeant Jessie Jane Duff on Newsmax over the Thanksgiving weekend.
There is plenty to be thankful for. In 52 days, President Trump will be back in the White House, and he will start to correct this nightmare that we have been living for the last 4 years. One of those things he will help fix is the military, something close to my heart. The conversation about women in ground combat and why it has to be twisted into this totally unrealistic conversation by the left. President Trump's choice for Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth restarted this conversation with a resurfaced interview.
I'm straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective, hasn't made us more lethal, has made fighting more complicated. We've all served with women, and they're great. It just, our institutions don't have to incentivize that in places where not traditionally, over human history, men in those positions are more capable.
And that led to more ridiculous conversations from the outraged, the media, who focused entirely on the wrong thing.
Don't lecture me about women in combat. Women have been in combat, and it doesn't matter if that 7.62 hits you in the chest. No one gives a if it's a woman or a guy who pulled that trigger. You're still dead.
I would ask him, where do you think I lost my legs? In a bar fight? I'm pretty sure I was in combat when that happened. It just shows how out of touch he is with the nature of modern warfare. If he thinks that we can keep women behind some sort of imaginary line, which is not the way warfare is today.
This isn't 1940. This isn't trench warfare where the men fight on the front and the women are nurses in the background. This is modern warfare. And I would suggest that anyone who thinks women shouldn't be serving in our military doesn't understand how we fight and is really unqualified to be the Secretary of Defense.
They are missing the mark. This isn't about women's rights or women's equality. This is about life and death and national security. This is about women in ground combat not being able to perform at the same caliber needed to keep not only themselves safe, but their fellow soldiers safe as well. If you don't know me, I am Jessie Jane Duff. I am a retired gunnery sergeant. I served in the United States Marine Corps for 20 years. I support women in our military, and Pete Hegseth does too. But ground combat, we're talking the guys that go from cave to cave, is a different story. And there is a scientific evidence to back this up in multiple studies that have been done. And it is time to have a real conversation about it. Men and women are physically different. Men have a higher percentage of muscle mass, for example, than women, as much as 45%. And women have only 20%. They have 20% more lung capacity. So studies have been done on this, and they come back saying the same thing every single time. In 2015, President Obama ignored and overruled the Marine Corps study that told him women should not serve in ground combat. They characterized it as a lethal mistake. That was the United States Marine Corps. Why wouldn't we trust them?
Again, that's retired Marine Gunnery Sergeant Jessie Jane Duff on Newsmax. The Marine Corps study she's talking about was conducted over the course of 9 months. It showed that all male groups, meaning groups consisting of only male Marines, outperformed mixed male-female groups 69% of the time, among a lot of other statistics. While we're talking about the U.S. military, actor Gary Sinise, who has dedicated his life to helping veterans and military personnel, made an appearance on Saturday Report with Rita Cosby to discuss some of the great work that his organizations are doing around the holidays.
Gary, it is so great to have you here, and I have so much to talk with you about. Let's first start with Snowball Express. I love that you've been doing this for so many years. You take them to Disney and you just, their expressions on their faces says it all. What does it mean to you? And explain what you guys do that's so incredible and transformative for these families.
Oh, thank you for having me, Rita. It's a great event. We have year-round programs for the families of our fallen, but this is our annual event that we've been doing for many, many years. I got involved with it the second year. It was after it started. It started in 2006. I joined up 2007. In 2018, we brought it under the Gary Sinise Foundation, and we moved the event to Disney World. We had been doing it at Disneyland in the beginning, and then we moved to Dallas because American Airlines is our presenting sponsor, and they provide all the travel for the kids and the families to get there. And then we wanted to move it to Disney World, which we did in 2018, and it was going to be a little more expensive, so we brought it under the Gary Sinise Foundation. Thousands of children have attended our events over the years. We do events throughout the year in states all over the country with the families of our fallen. But at Disney World, we will fly over 600 families. I think it's about 643 families, over 1,000 children to Disney World starting next week. Next weekend, a week from today, we will start the first event with the families of our fallen military heroes. And then the following week after that, we bring the families of our fallen first responders there. This is just a way for our country, our nation, to wrap our arms around these families and tell them that we don't forget what they've been through. We're grateful for the freedom that has been provided by their family members who have fallen in service to our country, and that we want them to know that we love them and we appreciate them. And so hundreds and hundreds of volunteers, many, many corporate sponsors, Disney World, of course, and the Gary Sinise Foundation it's our program at the Gary Sinise Foundation. I've been playing for these kids with my band since 2007, and I wouldn't miss it for anything.
Actor Gary Sinise on Newsmax with Rita Cosby, who also spoke with him about his own tragic loss.
The fight. I know firsthand, Gary, what you guys went through. And to go there and to hear about now you putting out his music, some of this music on there was stuff that you found shortly after his passing, just in January of this year. How special is this to you? And also just how meaningful and how incredible is it to you and to the world to share this beautiful music that your incredible son created?
Well, thank you so much, Rita, for allowing me to speak about Mac. He suffered from a very, very rare cancer called chordoma, and he fought it for 5.5 years. It disabled him, as you can see there in some of those photographs. He was in a wheelchair. He was an excellent drummer and composer. He couldn't play drums anymore because he was paralyzed from the chest down from the cancer. But last year, he wanted to go back and revisit a piece of music that he wrote at USC back over 10 years ago. And he had never finished it. And he talked to me about finishing it. So he teamed up with a couple of my band members. They started to help him flesh it out. And then a composer buddy, Oliver Schnee, right there. That's Oliver and Mac at Disneyland. They came together and they finished the piece of music and went into the studio last summer. Not this past summer, but the summer of 2023. in Los Angeles. The piece of music is called Arctic Circles. And when I rolled in there, you can see the video of it at Mac Sinise YouTube. And when I rolled in and sat down with Mac and watched the orchestra play this piece of music, I was just knocked out. And that led to him creating a whole album that he called Resurrection and Revival. He died, unfortunately, he died before the actual album was finished, but it went to press the week he died. Resurrection and Revival. Then I started looking through his files and I found all this additional music that Mac wrote, orchestral pieces, jazz, rock, all kinds of music that he wrote and recorded at USC. And I thought, I'm not going to let it just sit there on his laptop. I'm going to produce Resurrection and Revival Part 2. And that's available at GarySiniseFoundation.org. Mac wanted all the proceeds from the vinyl sales of the first record to go to help the Gary Sinise Foundation. He worked for the Gary Sinise Foundation until he was too sick to continue. And so, as with the first record, the second album, all the sales from the vinyl of Part 2 will go to the Gary Sinise Foundation to help us with our mission to support the men and women who serve our country, including all those families that you saw at Disney World there.
How beautiful. Gary, your son is smiling from above. You're an incredible father. I know firsthand, we talked about Mac through the years. We love you, and happy Thanksgiving. We're thinking of you so much. But your son is so, so proud of you. Incredible what you're doing, my friend.
Actor Gary Sinise, a great American on the loss of his son, Mac, a brilliant musician. Visit GarySiniseFoundation.org. That's GarySiniseFoundation.org to get Mac's music, or you can just make a donation at GarySiniseFoundation.org as well. All right, getting back to President-elect Trump, he also named Hillsborough County, Florida Sheriff Chad Chronister to lead the Drug Enforcement Administration. Chronister is a 32-year veteran of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, which includes the city of Tampa and surrounding areas. That's Hillsborough County, a densely populated area of Florida. He has a long list of accomplishments and commendations, and released a statement on X saying it's an honor of a lifetime to be nominated by President Trump to serve as the administrator of the Drug Enforcement Administration, and I am deeply humbled by this opportunity to serve our nation. He also has a lot of experience working with former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi, obviously, who Trump appointed as U.S. Attorney General. So a lot of cohesiveness there. Trump also said he wants real estate developer Charles Kushner, the father of his son-in-law Jared Kushner, who served as an advisor in Trump's first administration, to serve as ambassador to France. Jared served in the first administration, not Charles, but Charles Kushner now could be the ambassador to France. He was pardoned by President Trump back in 2020 after pleading guilty many years earlier to tax evasion and making illegal campaign donations. And after their phone call last week, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, another of the many who showed up at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend to meet with Donald Trump in person, talk about the border and potential tariffs. And what about this? Wildly liberal Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont over the weekend praising Elon Musk's plans to rein in Defense Department spending as part of his government efficiency appointment. Sanders posting on X, Elon Musk is right. Last year, only 13 senators voted against the military-industrial complex and a defense budget full of waste and fraud. That must change. End quote from Senator Bernie Sanders. And I'm going to wrap it up with Sunday's edition of Wake Up America, Weekend Edition. Newsmax's Sarah Williamson spoke with the parents of Omer Neutra from Long Island, who is among the American hostages being held by Hamas. Omer has dual citizenship and was fighting with the Israeli Defense Forces and had not been heard from since October 7th, 2023. I'm going to play a part of the interview, and this is another one of today's top stories, unfortunately. But less than 24 hours after their interview on Newsmax, the IDF told the Israeli consulate in New York this morning that their son Omer had indeed been killed. Again, this is yesterday morning before the news.
Omer Neutra, from Long Island is also being held captive by the same terrorists. He was 21 years old when he was abducted by Hamas and has since had 2 birthdays whilst in captivity. Yet his status is unknown. His parents, Ronen and Orna, join me in studio now. To you both, I just want to say, first of all, I'm so sorry for what you have had to endure for more than a year now. When you see that video of Idan, a man not similar from Omer, similar age, both grew up on the east coast of the United States, how does it make you feel? I'll start with you, Orna.
Mixed emotions. You know, on the one hand, such great relief. Any sign of life is a good sign. But then, you know, you see the desperation. And they've been there for such a long time. They're going into a second winter. They have to be brought out.
Absolutely. Ronen, President Herzog said today that there has been a lot of work behind the scenes and it's making progress in order to get these hostages home. I want to ask you, do you know anything about the status of Omer? Has anyone been checking up with you or providing you with any updates on how the rescue mission is progressing?
First, good morning. It's been a very long 422 days. We don't know a lot. Some of the information we have, we can't really share. But we know that things are changing. We know that since President Trump was elected, there is a new wave of activity, and we have urged President Biden and President Trump to work together with their teams to seize the moment and bring our dear ones, our son, and the rest of the hostages back. And we believe this is the time, and we believe we may be able to see what we call a Reagan moment, where things just aligned, and we are hoping that we're getting very close to it.
That's Omer Neutra, the father of Omer, who had renewed optimism with the election of President Trump on Newsmax yesterday, only to find out today that his son was indeed killed in the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. Absolutely terrible, heartbreaking news. As a parent, you could not imagine what those people have been through. As I mentioned, President Biden, who promised to do everything he could to bring home the hostages after helping fund Hamas and promised not to pardon his son, is in Angola, a trip that he had pushed off until after he was reelected. But since that's not happening, he had to squeeze in the trip before his time in the White House runs out. On Wall Street, the markets opened slightly lower ahead of a batch of economic data due out throughout the week, and the November jobs report will highlight it all on Friday. Could be a very volatile week, so unless you're a day trader, pay attention. Or if you're, in it for the long haul, like most folks, maybe don't pay attention at all. It's going to be a very busy day as we kick off the new week. Be sure to keep up with it all and breaking developments as well on Newsmax, Newsmax 2, and Newsmax.com. Beginning with Wake Up America, National Report, Newsline with Bianca De La Garza, Carl Higbee on Frontline, Greta Van Susteren, Finnerty, Rob Schmidt, Chris Salcedo, Ed Henry, John Bachman, and much, much more, with fantastic analysis from people like Governor Mike Huckabee, Senator Rick Santorum, political analyst Mark Halpern, Judge Napolitano, former White House staffer Hogan Gidley, and many others. I'm Tony Marino. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Newsmax Daily. Enjoy the rest of your day. Monday Night Football featuring the Browns at the Broncos. Today is also National Mutt Day, which actually happens twice a year, once in July and then again today. So if you are the proud parent of a mutt, especially if you rescued that mutt, give him or her some extra love today. And keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Hey, it's
Jerry Callahan from The Callahan Show. You can listen to us every day. We react to the latest news, politics, sports, and all the madness in the world. I'll give you my opinion with a little edge, a little attitude. I'm an unapologetic right-winger, trapped behind enemy lines in deep blue Boston, so I'm used to taking on the mainstream media mob. You can hear us anywhere you get your podcast, or you can listen every day at newsmax.com/listen.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is